Hello and welcome to another episode of Here Today, Storm Tomorrow for January the 28th, 2015. Now we have two tropical storms active today and a further invest as well. We'll move on to those very shortly indeed, but first let's take a look at our satellite views around the globe. First of all, the Eastern Pacific, we have some stormy areas there. They're well offshore the coast of Mexico and the Eastern Pacific part of the ocean. Apart from that, nothing else really going on at all in the eastern half of the Pacific Ocean, east of the international date line. Moving now to the Atlantic, we have a strong nor'easter stretching from New Jersey all the way to Labrador in Canada. Obviously that's been delivering blizzard conditions, as has been well documented in the past few hours and perhaps the past 24 hours or so in the northeastern part of the United States, affecting the Boston area particularly heavily, but nothing to do with tropical weather of course. As far as the Atlantic tropics are concerned, very little going on there indeed, as you'd expect from this time of year, but it's not unheard of that we have something going on, but it's one in 50 year occurrence, I suppose you could say, at least. Anyway, moving on to the Western Pacific, we do have a small area of interest. You can see quite far to the east of Micronesia, not too far from the international date line. That's not been tagged as an invest yet, but perhaps we may see some further development of that system in the coming days. The models aren't keen on that though. And moving on to the Indian Ocean, this is where the action is right now. The new Cyclone Diamondra, has formed halfway across the southern Indian Ocean, and a new system as well, a 9S, has also formed north of Rodrigues. Towards the west of the Indian Ocean as well. That was likely to be named in the next few hours. Its name would be Eunice. And it could develop into a significant storm, but more on that shortly. In the Australian region, not too much going on there, but in the South Pacific we have some storminess going on not too far from the equator, near Samoa and north of Fiji at this time as well. So let's take a look now at Tropical Storm Diamondra. That storm has intensified somewhat over the past 24 hours. It's now a 50-mile-per-hour storm with winds of 989 millibars is the pressure. Its position is 18.7 degrees south, 77.7 degrees east. Now we also have Tropical Storm 9S, that's formed very recently in the past few hours. 40 miles per hour that one, with a pressure of 996 millibars. Its position is 12.7 degrees south, 63.3 degrees east, and Invest 99P located in the South Pacific. 20 mile per hour storm with winds of, a pressure of 1010 millibars, and its position is 15.3 degrees south or 156.5 degrees east. Looking at the forecast then, Cyclone Diamondra, that's likely to peak near around 70 miles per hour, which means there is an outside chance of it becoming a Category 1 storm on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, and that's likely to move out to sea. And 9S is likely to be the strongest storm. That's likely to strengthen quite quickly over the next few days, possibly reaching a peak of 120 miles per hour in 3 days' time. That's what the forecasts currently call for, and that's sort of like a guide, I suppose you could say. No real land threat from that one though either. And needless to say, there are no warnings in effect at this time, so we'll move swiftly on to the photo imagery of these storms. You can see Diamondra here on the right hand side, looking very strong at its core in the past few frames. It's certainly got a strong core there. It's interesting to see whether it holds on to that over the next few hours and beyond, and see how well it organises. And you can see those spiral bands developing out there as well. Both the north and the south getting its act together slowly but surely, certainly intensifying. 9S, it's still disorganised, but it is looking potent also, and that could certainly get itself developed in the next few days towards Category 1 hurricane strength in around 24 hours time perhaps, if it really gets its act together. So let's take a look now at the sea surface temperatures. Around 28 degrees over near Madagascar and most of the South Indian Ocean. We're looking at around 28 degrees in the tropical regions. Moving towards Australia, as always, the coastlines there along the coast, you're looking at around 30 degrees in the northern part of Australia, of course, the warmest part. Out at sea, lower towards 28 degrees C. The South Pacific, I think, is rather similar. And in the West Pacific, the main development region there over the Micronesian islands, around 28 degrees all the way up to the southern half of the Philippines. The South China Sea remains fairly cool at this time of year, as is fairly normal. Looking at the wind shear amounts then, here's the Indian Ocean map. You can see high shear amounts here and there in most places really. Around the storms themselves, low in the immediate vicinities, and in terms of 9S, which is located further west, towards the southeast and east-southeast and all that stuff, the shear is fairly low, so the storm could have a good window of opportunity to intensify as time goes on. And just to mention the model ones as well, we won't show them, but just a mention of them, a weak system could form over the Mozambique channel in the next few days, probably a low chance of forming. Over Fiji and Samoa, they're likely to be hit by low pressure systems in the coming days too, and there's a small chance of formation for both on those ones as well. Apart from that, nothing else apart from the storms we already have active. Looking at predicted season 2015, we will have detailed figures for you tomorrow. As for today, nothing really, but you can visit the website force13.com/PAS2015.html for to submit your own prediction. You can do that anytime between now and the end of the year, November, and you can submit either for an individual basin or for the whole world how many storms will form this year.
Hello, my name's Daniel Hudson, and here's another look back at what happened on this day in the world of storms. Here at Force 13 we're building a database of what happened each day in the storm record. Dates of formation, dissipation, landfalls and anything else of particular interest. Currently we are standing at 3,023 entries, and that figure's ever growing. On January 28th, Tropical Storm Akika formed in the Central Pacific, a very rare occurrence in 1992. Tropical Storm Falapi made landfall in Madagascar in 2005, leaving 60 dead. On the same day, Tropical Storm Gerard formed in the southwest Indian Ocean, followed by Jim in the Coral Sea the next year. In 2009, Tropical Storm Hetty also formed in the South Pacific, and in 2011, Cyclone Wilma dissipated near New Zealand after causing 3 deaths in American Samoa, 3 million in damages in Tonga, and a further 90 million in New Zealand. Well, hope you've enjoyed that, and that's all from me for today. Now we'll go back to the studio.
Looking at the storm totals for this calendar day, we have 6 tropical storms that have formed so far in 2015 around the world. 2 of those have become Category 1 hurricanes or their equivalents, and one of those a major storm. We all know which one, Cyclone Bansi, and that storm went on to become a Category 5 storm as well on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, peaked at 160 I believe. And our tropical storm amount is level with 2014 for this date. That's 1 behind 2013 though, which had 7 at this time, and it's 1 ahead of 1992. Of course, we've already had 1 major storm. 2014 by this time had 2. 2013 would reach 2 on January the 30th. We may well reach 2 very soon as well if this storm comes to fruition. Looking at the comments quickly before we finish, Greach 101 says, how did you come up with the hypothetical hurricane animation simulations? That's very off-putting, by the way. And the answer to that is, well, basically, they're submitted on the website through an email, and they're then drawn on the maps, and then they're made into an animation, quite simply. But they're not being taken as animations at this time. But they, if you officially that is, but you can send an email unofficially, and I may be able to draw out a map for you. That's all for now, and on the note of hypothetical hurricane seasons, we'll show you now the video that person commented on, and that was hypothetical hurricane season number 77. That's all for now, have a good day.